Marcus Bennett, a wealthy black CEO of Bennett Industries, navigates systemic racism and internal corruption in the diverse Crestwood community. Despite his humility and commitment to inclusivity, Marcus faces blatant prejudice from influential figures like Officer Daniels, who sabotages his initiatives and undermines his authority. As Marcus strives to foster a respectful workplace, he encounters both subtle microaggressions and overt discrimination, escalating tensions within his company and the broader community. Betrayals and media scrutiny intensify the conflict, highlighting the persistent racial biases that Marcus must confront to achieve meaningful change. Marcus Bennett sipped his black coffee slowly, savoring the rich aroma that filled his modest apartment in the heart of Crestwood. The sun had just begun its ascent, casting a golden hue through the sheer curtains and illuminating the room with a gentle warmth. Despite his towering presence in the corporate world as the CEO of Bennett Industries, Marcus preferred the simplicity of his morning routine. His life was a study in contrasts, opulence cloaked in humility. Crestwood was a vibrant neighborhood, a melting pot of cultures and backgrounds, yet beneath its colorful facade lay layers of unspoken tensions. The streets buzzed with activity as local vendors set up their stalls, children played in the nearby park, and neighbors exchanged friendly greetings. It was a community that thrived on diversity, but it wasn't without its challenges. Systemic prejudices lingered like shadows, subtly influencing interactions and perceptions. Today, Marcus had decided to start his day differently. Instead of heading straight to his sleek office in downtown Crestwood, he was meeting with Mr. Jenkins, the owner of The Corner Diner, a beloved local eatery that had been a staple in the community for decades. The diner was more than just a place to grab breakfast. It was a social hub where stories were shared and relationships were forged. As Marcus locked his door and stepped onto the bustling street, he felt the familiar weight of his suit, the tailored fabric, a reminder of the empire he had built. Yet, his choice to visit a small diner, instead of his high-rise office, spoke volumes about his character. He believed in staying connected to his roots, understanding the pulse of the community that supported his business ventures. The diner was nestled between a florist and a bookstore, its neon sign flickering softly in the morning light. Marcus pushed open the door, the familiar jingle announcing his arrival. The interior was cozy, adorned with vintage memorabilia and photographs that chronicled the diner's history. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling bacon greeted him, evoking a sense of nostalgia. "Marcus, good to see you, my friend," Mr. Jenkins called out from behind the counter, wiping his hands on a stained apron. He was a robust man in his late 50s, with a booming laugh that could fill the room. "Morning, Jenkins," Marcus replied with a warm smile, taking a seat at the corner booth. Despite his status, he cherished these moments of genuine connection, away from the boardrooms and corporate strategies. As they chatted about the usual matters, local events, the latest community projects, and the day's specials, Marcus couldn't help but notice the subtle dynamics at play. The waitstaff, a diverse group, moved with practiced ease, their interactions with regular customers seamless. Yet, there was an undercurrent of unease that Marcus was all too familiar with, the kind that arises when underlying prejudices are at work. "So Marcus," Jenkins began, leaning in conspiratorially, "how's everything going at the top, still keeping everyone in line?" Marcus chuckled softly. "You know me, Jenkins, trying to make sure things run smoothly. It's not always easy, but it's rewarding." Jenkins nodded thoughtfully. "I can imagine the community appreciates what you do, but not everyone sees it that way. There's always some tension, some resistance." Marcus sighed, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. "Yeah, it's a constant battle trying to break down barriers, foster understanding, but old habits die hard." Their conversation was interrupted by the entrance of a young woman, Maria, a waitress who had recently joined the diner. She approached Marcus with a friendly smile, balancing a tray with a steaming plate of pancakes. "Good morning, Mr. Bennett. Your usual?" she asked. Marcus nodded gratefully. "Yes, please, Maria." "Thank you." As Maria set the plate before him, Marcus observed her with a keen eye. She was one of the few black employees at the diner, a reflection of the neighborhood's diversity. Yet, despite her skills and dedication, she often faced subtle dismissals and microaggressions from some of the more entrenched patrons. "Maria, how are things today?" Marcus inquired, genuinely interested. She smiled, though there was a hint of fatigue in her eyes. Busy as always, but managing the new sandwich you introduced is a hit. Glad to hear that, Marcus replied. Your hard work doesn't go unnoticed. Maria's smile widened slightly. Thanks, Mr. Bennett, it means a lot. As she retreated to the kitchen, Marcus glanced around the diner, absorbing the scene. Conversations flowed effortlessly among customers, but there was an unspoken tension that he couldn't ignore. He had heard stories of resistance from other business owners in Crestwood, subtle yet pervasive biases that undermined the progress the community had made. Jenkins leaned back in his chair, his expression turning serious. You know, Marcus, sometimes I wonder if all this effort is worth it. The pushback, the slow progress. It gets to me sometimes. Marcus nodded, understanding the sentiment all too well. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Change takes time, but every small victory counts. Just then, the diner's door swung open and a group of well-dressed men entered. Their presence was commanding, exuding an air of authority that seemed to alter the diner's atmosphere. They moved toward the counter, their demeanor dismissive as they interacted with Maria. Maria, can I get an extra side of syrup with mine? One of them demanded, his tone brusque. Maria hesitated, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for the syrup dispenser. Of course, sir. Right away. Another man in the group leaned over, his voice laced with condescension. And make it quick, we're in a hurry. Marcus felt a familiar sense of discomfort. He knew that these men were part of a local business council that often clashed with him over community initiatives. Their blatant disregard for Maria's efforts was a stark reminder of the prejudices that still lingered, despite the community's outward progress. He decided to intervene, his voice calm but firm. Gentlemen, please be patient. Maria is doing her best to accommodate your requests. One of the men turned to him, his expression mocking. Oh, and who are you supposed to be, the big boss? This is a diner, not your corporate palace. Marcus met his gaze steadily. I'm Marcus Bennett, CEO of Bennett Industries. I'm here to support local businesses like yours, not to be condescended to. The man's eyes narrowed, a flash of irritation crossing his face. Well, it's not like you're doing much around here, just throwing money at problems without addressing the real issues. Jenkins leaned forward, sensing the brewing conflict. Now hold on a minute. There's no need for this kind of talk in a place of business. The atmosphere in the diner grew tense, the patrons sensing the confrontation unfolding. Maria quickly cleared the plate, avoiding eye contact with the men, her discomfort palpable. Marcus took a deep breath, maintaining his composure. We all want what's best for this community. Let's keep the conversation respectful. The men exchanged glances, their initial bravado waning under Marcus's unwavering presence. Finally, one of them spoke, his tone begrudging. Fine, just keep your big ideas out of our way. With that, the group exited the diner, leaving behind a lingering tension that Marcus couldn't ignore. He turned to Jenkins, who offered a sympathetic nod. They never listen, do they? Jenkins muttered, shaking his head. Marcus sighed, his mind racing with thoughts of how deeply entrenched these biases were, and what more he could do to foster genuine change. We can't force people to see things our way, Jenkins. All we can do is lead by example, and continue pushing forward. As the door closed behind the departing men, Maria approached Marcus, her expression grateful, yet wary. Thank you for stepping in, Mr. Bennett. It means a lot. Marcus smiled warmly. Of course, Maria. Everyone deserves respect. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. She nodded, the weight of the encounter evident in her demeanor. I'll do my best. Jenkins reached over, placing a reassuring hand on Marcus's shoulder. You're doing a good thing, Marcus. Sometimes it just takes a bit longer for people to come around. Marcus looked around the diner, the early morning light now fully illuminating the space. I hope so, for Maria's sake, and for everyone here. As he stood to leave, Maria called out, I'll bring you the next cup of coffee, Mr. Bennett. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate it, he replied, making his way to the door. Stepping back onto the bustling street, Marcus took a moment to absorb the morning's events. The encounter had reinforced the challenges he faced, not just as a CEO, but as a Black leader striving to bridge divides in a community still grappling with its own complexities. His wealth and influence provided him with opportunities, but they also placed him under a microscope, where every action was scrutinized and every misstep magnified. The city of Crestwood was at a crossroads. Economic growth had attracted a diverse population, but with it came friction and a struggle for equitable representation. Marcus had always believed in using his position to effect positive change, investing in local businesses, supporting educational initiatives, and advocating for inclusive policies. Yet, the resistance he encountered reminded him that progress was neither linear nor guaranteed. As he walked down the street, Marcus passed by storefronts that bore the marks of the community's resilience, murals depicting the neighborhood's history, shops showcasing locally made goods, and community boards advertising upcoming events. Despite the outward signs of unity, the underlying tensions were a testament to the work that still needed to be done. His phone buzzed, breaking his contemplation. He glanced at the screen, an incoming call from his executive assistant, Linda. "Morning, Linda. What do you have for me?" Marcus asked, answering the call. "Good morning, Marcus. Just a reminder about the board meeting this afternoon. They're eager to hear the updates on the new community outreach program." "Right," he replied, nodding. "I'll be there. Also, we received another complaint from the council meeting last night. Some of them are still not happy with our initiatives." Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'll address it. Thanks for letting me know." "Anytime, and Marcus, don't let it get to you. You're doing important work." He smiled, appreciating her support. "Thanks, Linda. I'll handle it." Ending the call, Marcus felt a renewed sense of determination. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but he was committed to navigating them with integrity and resilience. As he continued his walk, he noticed a group of teenagers skateboarding in the park, their laughter ringing out as they performed tricks. It was a reminder of the community's vibrancy and the potential for positive change. Turning the corner, Marcus reached his office building, a modern structure that stood as a symbol of his business acumen. Yet, as he entered the lobby, he was greeted not by the typical sleek decor, but by a display celebrating local artists. The walls were adorned with colorful paintings and photographs, reflecting the neighborhood's cultural richness. "Good morning, Mr. Bennett," a receptionist greeted him with a warm smile. "Everything set for the meeting?" "Morning, Lisa. Thanks for arranging everything." As he made his way to the conference room, Marcus reflected on the day's earlier encounter. It was moments like these that tested his resolve and reinforced the importance of his mission. He wasn't just leading a company, he was striving to make a meaningful impact on the community that had shaped him. Entering the meeting room, he was met with a diverse group of board members, their expressions a mix of anticipation and concern. At the head of the table sat Mr. Reynolds, the chairman, a stern man with a reputation for being unyielding. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus began, taking his seat. "Let's dive into the updates on our community outreach program." As he outlined the program's progress, partnerships with local schools, funding for small businesses, and initiatives aimed at fostering inclusivity, he could feel the room's energy shift. Some members nodded in approval, while others exchanged skeptical glances. After his presentation, Mr. Reynolds leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "Marcus, your efforts are commendable, but there are concerns about the sustainability of these initiatives. We've invested heavily, and we need to see tangible results." Marcus met his chair's gaze confidently. "I understand the concerns, Mr. Reynolds. Sustainability is a priority. We're implementing metrics to track progress and ensure long-term viability. Additionally, we're exploring partnerships that can provide ongoing support." Another board member, Ms. Patel, chimed in. "There's also been feedback from the community about resistance from certain groups. How do you plan to address that?" Marcus took a moment before responding. "Building trust takes time, especially in a community with deep-seated issues. We're focusing on open dialogue, listening to concerns, and demonstrating our commitment through consistent actions. It's about showing that we're here to support, not to impose." The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Marcus could sense the board members weighing his responses, evaluating his leadership and the viability of the program. "Very well," Mr. Reynolds concluded. "We expect continued transparency and measurable progress. Keep us updated regularly." "Absolutely," Marcus replied, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "I'll ensure you're kept in the loop." As the meeting adjourned, Marcus felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. The challenges were far from over, but each step forward was a testament to his dedication and resilience. Exiting the building, he glanced up at the towering skyscraper, a symbol of both his success and the ongoing battle for equality and respect within the community. Walking back to his apartment, Marcus reflected on the day's events. The encounter at the diner was a stark reminder of the societal barriers that still existed, even in a seemingly progressive community. Yet, it also fueled his determination to bridge those gaps, to create spaces where everyone felt valued and heard. He arrived home to find his partner, Elena, waiting with a warm smile and a home-cooked meal. Her presence was a source of comfort and strength, grounding him amidst the chaos of his responsibilities. "How was your morning?" she asked, taking his hand as they sat down to eat. Marcus recounted the events at the diner and the board meeting, watching Elena's expression shift from interest to concern. "It sounds like you're really making a difference," she said softly, "but remember to take care of yourself too." He nodded, appreciating her unwavering support. "I will. It's just... sometimes it feels like we're fighting an uphill battle." Elena squeezed his hand reassuringly. "Every change starts with someone like you. You're not alone in this." As they finished their meal, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead was challenging, fraught with obstacles and opposition, but he was resolute in his mission. With Elena by his side, and a community that needed his leadership, he was ready to face whatever came next. Later that night, as Marcus reviewed reports and planned for upcoming initiatives, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from Maria at the diner. "Thank you for today, means a lot." A small smile tugged at his lips. It was moments like these that reminded him why he did what he did. The journey was far from easy, but the impact was real and profound. As he turned off his computer and prepared for bed, Marcus knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he was ready to meet them head-on, driven by a vision of a more inclusive and united community. The following morning, Marcus Bennett arrived at Bennett Industries headquarters earlier than usual. The towering glass building mirrored the rising sun, its reflective surface a symbol of the company's transparency and forward-thinking ethos. As he entered the sleek lobby, the familiar hum of productivity surrounded him. Employees hurrying to meetings, the soft clatter of keyboards, and the occasional ring of a phone. Despite his high-powered position, Marcus maintained a down-to-earth demeanor, greeting each employee by name and engaging in brief, genuine conversations. Today, however, there was an undercurrent of tension that Marcus couldn't quite place. As he approached his office, he noticed his executive assistant, Linda, looking unusually stressed, her brow furrowed as she tapped away on her tablet. "Good morning, Linda," Marcus greeted her with his characteristic warmth. "Everything all right?" She looked up, her eyes darting nervously. "Morning, Marcus. Actually, there's something you need to see." Concern etched on his face. Marcus followed Linda into his office. She handed him a printed email notification. "It's from the city council," she explained. "They're requesting a meeting this afternoon to discuss the new community outreach initiatives. They seem to have some concerns." Marcus took a deep breath, scanning the email. The council had been generally supportive of his efforts, but he knew that in any diverse community, there were always differing opinions. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'll prepare for the meeting." As Linda left, Marcus leaned back in his chair, contemplating the potential issues the council might raise. His initiatives were designed to bridge gaps and foster inclusivity, but he was aware that not everyone viewed his efforts favorably. Determined to address any concerns head-on, he began outlining his key points, ensuring he had clear data and success stories to present. Later that afternoon, Marcus entered the council chamber, a modest room adorned with historical photographs and plaques commemorating Crestwood's heritage. The room was filled with a diverse group of council members, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. At the head of the table sat Councilwoman Harris, a stern woman known for her traditional views and influential standing within the community. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Bennett," she began, her voice steady but with an edge of formality. "We appreciate your efforts in improving our community, but we have some concerns regarding the recent initiatives." Marcus nodded respectfully. I'm here to listen and address any questions or concerns you may have. Councilwoman Harris adjusted her glasses, peering over the rim with a scrutinizing gaze. While your initiatives have shown promise, there are worries about their sustainability and long-term impact. Additionally, some community members feel that these programs are more about corporate image rather than genuine community development. Marcus remained composed, choosing his words carefully. I understand those concerns, Councilwoman. Our goal has always been to create lasting, positive change. We've implemented metrics to track the effectiveness of our programs, ensuring they are not just short-term fixes, but contribute to the long-term prosperity of Crestwood. A younger council member, Councilman Lee, leaned forward, his tone more conciliatory. Mr. Bennett, we've seen improvements in areas like youth engagement and small business support. However, there are still pockets of resistance and skepticism. How do you plan to address those? Marcus smiled slightly, appreciating the constructive approach. Building trust takes time, especially in a community with diverse experiences and histories. We're committed to continuous dialogue, gathering feedback, and adjusting our strategies to better meet the needs of all residents. It's about collaboration, not just top-down implementation. The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Councilwoman Harris was next to speak, her tone measured. Mr. Bennett, there's also the matter of funding. Some of your initiatives have received significant financial backing. How do you justify this expenditure when there are pressing needs elsewhere in the community? Marcus's expression remained calm, his professionalism unwavering. Investing in community development is investing in the future of Crestwood. By supporting local businesses, enhancing educational programs, and fostering inclusivity, we're creating a stronger, more resilient community. These investments yield returns in the form of economic growth, reduced crime rates, and improved quality of life for all residents. Councilwoman Harris tapped her fingers thoughtfully on the table. We need to ensure that these funds are allocated effectively and that the programs truly benefit the community without unintended consequences. Marcus nodded in agreement. Absolutely. We conduct regular evaluations and are open to making adjustments based on feedback and results. Transparency is a cornerstone of our approach. As the meeting progressed, Marcus fielded various questions and concerns with the same composed demeanor. He addressed issues related to resource allocation, community engagement, and program evaluation, always emphasizing collaboration and transparency. Despite his efforts, he couldn't shake the feeling that some council members were unconvinced, their skepticism rooted not just in the effectiveness of the initiatives, but also in underlying biases. After the formal discussion, Councilwoman Harris stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Thank you for your time, Mr. Bennett. We will review the information you've provided and follow up with any further questions. As the council members filed out, Marcus felt a mixture of relief and lingering tension. He knew that change was never met without resistance, but the subtle undertones of prejudice were disheartening. Determined not to let it deter him, he remained focused on his mission to foster genuine community development. That evening, Marcus returned home to find Elena preparing dinner. Her presence was a source of comfort and strength, a reminder of the personal support that grounded him amidst his professional challenges. How did the meeting go? Elena asked as he walked into the kitchen. Marcus took a seat at the dining table, the warmth of the home contrasting sharply with the formality of the council chamber. It went as expected. They have concerns about the sustainability and impact of our initiatives. Some of it is valid, but I felt there were underlying biases at play. Elena placed a reassuring hand on his arm. You did what you could, Marcus. Don't let their skepticism get to you. Change takes time, and you're making a difference. He nodded, grateful for her unwavering support. I know, but it's frustrating. It feels like no matter how hard I try, there's always an additional hurdle because of who I am. Elena pulled him into a gentle embrace. You're strong and capable. Don't let anyone's biases define your worth or the value of what you're building. Marcus took a moment to absorb her words, feeling a sense of calm wash over him. Thank you, Elena. It's just hard sometimes, seeing how deeply ingrained some of these prejudices are. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the sounds of their bustling home a stark contrast to the tense atmosphere of the council meeting. Marcus appreciated these moments of normalcy, where he could let down his guard and simply be. The next day, Marcus was scheduled to attend a high-profile networking event at the Crestwood Community Center. The event was designed to bring together local business leaders, community activists, and city officials to discuss future projects and collaborations. It was an opportunity for Marcus to further his outreach efforts and solidify his role as a community leader. As he prepared for the event, Marcus donned his favorite tailored suit, elegant yet understated, and reviewed his talking points. He wanted to present himself not just as a CEO, but as a committed community advocate dedicated to fostering real change. Arriving at the community center, he was greeted by the lively chatter of attendees and the clinking of glasses. The room was adorned with banners promoting unity and progress, a visual representation of the event's purpose. Marcus navigated through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries and engaging in conversations with fellow leaders. He approached a group gathered around a presentation table where a local artist was showcasing his work. Marcus admired the vibrant colors and the stories they told, appreciating the cultural richness they brought to the community. "Beautiful pieces," Marcus commented, gesturing to the artwork. The artist, a middle-aged man named Anthony, nodded appreciatively. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett. It's always inspiring to see art bring people together." Marcus smiled. "That's exactly what we're aiming for with our initiatives, bringing the community together and celebrating our diversity." As he continued mingling, Marcus noticed a familiar group of council members, including Councilwoman Harris and Councilman Lee, engaged in a heated discussion with another attendee. Their raised voices and tense expressions drew his attention. Curiosity piqued, Marcus approached the group, sensing that another conflict might be brewing. He listened for a moment, catching snippets of the conversation. "Your initiatives are all well and good, but they're not addressing the root causes," Councilwoman Harris was saying, her tone sharp. "We need more than just surface-level projects." Councilman Lee chimed in, his frustration evident. "Exactly, it's like you're treating the symptoms without curing the disease." Marcus felt a pang of frustration, but reminded himself to remain calm and professional. He interjected smoothly, his voice measured. "Councilwoman Harris, Councilman Lee, I appreciate your concerns. Can we discuss how our initiatives can be adjusted to better address the underlying issues you're referring to?" There was a brief pause. The tension palpable. Councilwoman Harris regarded him with a mixture of skepticism and irritation. "Mr. Bennett, we're not saying your efforts are futile. We just believe there's a deeper problem that needs a more comprehensive approach." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. Perhaps we could collaborate on a task force that delves into those root causes more thoroughly. Combining our resources and expertise could lead to more effective solutions." Councilman Lee's expression softened slightly. "That might be a step in the right direction, but we need to ensure that these efforts are inclusive and address the needs of all community members." Marcus smiled, feeling a small victory. "Absolutely. Inclusivity is at the core of our mission. We're committed to ensuring that every voice is heard and every need is met." The group seemed to relax marginally, though Councilwoman Harris still held reservations. "We'll consider your proposal, Mr. Bennett, but actions speak louder than words." Marcus nodded again. "Understood. I'm here to support and work alongside the council to achieve meaningful progress." As he walked away, Marcus couldn't help but feel the weight of the unspoken biases that lingered beneath the surface interactions. Despite his composed exterior, a storm of emotions raged within him. Frustration at the constant uphill battle, determination to push through, and a deep-seated desire for genuine equality and respect. Later that evening, Marcus attended a community workshop focused on youth empowerment. The room was filled with eager teenagers, their faces alight with curiosity and hope. Marcus enjoyed these sessions, seeing them as opportunities to inspire the next generation and hear firsthand about their aspirations and challenges. As he moved through the crowd, a group of young men approached him, their demeanor friendly but cautious. One of them, Jamal, extended a hand. "Mr. Bennett, it's an honor to meet you. We've heard a lot about your work." Marcus shook Jamal's hand firmly. "Thank you, Jamal. It's great to be here. How can I support you today?" Jamal hesitated for a moment before speaking. "We're working on a project to create a mentorship program, but we're facing some pushback from school officials. They don't think it's necessary." Marcus leaned in, his interest piqued. "I'd love to hear more about that." What kind of pushback are you encountering? Another young man, Malik, chimed in. They say it's redundant and that the schools already have programs in place, but we feel like we can offer something different, something more tailored to our needs. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. I understand your concerns. Let me see how I can help bridge that gap. Sometimes, it takes a little extra effort to showcase the unique value of your initiatives. The teenagers exchanged hopeful glances, grateful for his willingness to listen. As they continued to discuss their project, Marcus felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that his efforts were resonating with the community's youth. However, as the workshop concluded, Marcus's phone buzzed with a notification from his company's internal system. A message from his chief operations officer, Rebecca, flagged a concerning report. There were allegations of discrimination within one of Bennett Industries' newly acquired branches. In a predominantly black neighborhood, employees were reporting unequal treatment, lack of promotion opportunities, and a hostile work environment. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Despite his best efforts to foster inclusivity, systemic issues within his company persisted. He immediately called Rebecca into his office for a discussion. Rebecca, what's going on? Marcus asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Rebecca looked distressed but maintained her professionalism. Marcus, we've received several complaints from employees at the Springfield branch. They're alleging racial discrimination and bias in management practices. It's affecting morale and productivity. Marcus leaned back in his chair, processing the information. This is unacceptable. We can't have that kind of environment anywhere in our company. What steps have been taken so far? We've started an internal investigation and reached out to HR to address the complaints. But it's a sensitive issue, and we need to handle it carefully to avoid further tensions. Marcus nodded firmly. Ensure that the investigation is thorough and impartial. We need to root out any biases and hold those responsible accountable. Additionally, I want us to implement comprehensive diversity and inclusion training across all branches immediately. Rebecca agreed. I'll coordinate with HR and get the training modules rolled out this week. We also need to provide support to the affected employees and show them that their voices are heard and valued. Marcus felt a surge of determination. Good. Let's make sure we address this head-on. We can't afford to let internal issues undermine the progress we're trying to make in the community. As Rebecca left the room, Marcus sat back, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had always believed in leading by example, but these internal conflicts were a stark reminder that change was never easy, even within his own organization. He decided to call Elena, needing her perspective and support. After dinner, they sat together on the balcony, the night air cool and calming. Elena, we have a problem, Marcus began, his voice tinged with frustration. There are serious allegations of discrimination within one of our branches. It's disheartening to see this happening despite our efforts. Elena listened intently, her expression sympathetic. I'm so sorry, Marcus, but you're handling it the right way by addressing it head-on. What can I do to support you? Marcus sighed, leaning back against the railing. I just feel like no matter how much I try, there's always something trying to pull us back. It's exhausting. She reached out, taking his hand gently. You're making a difference, even if it doesn't always feel like it. Remember why you started and who you're doing this for. Don't let these setbacks discourage you. He smiled, feeling a sense of comfort from her words. Thank you, Elena. It helps to talk about it. As they sat in silence, the city lights twinkling below, Marcus reflected on the day's events. The systemic challenges he faced were not just external, but also embedded within his own company. It was a complex web of biases and prejudices that required unwavering commitment to dismantle. The next morning, Marcus convened an emergency meeting with Rebecca and the HR team. The atmosphere was tense, the urgency of the situation evident in everyone's demeanor. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, Marcus began, addressing the room with authority. We need to address the allegations at the Springfield branch immediately. Our commitment to diversity and inclusion must be reflected in every corner of our company. Rebecca nodded, her expression resolute. We've initiated a comprehensive investigation and are already scheduling meetings with the affected employees. We need to ensure they feel safe and supported during this process. Marcus agreed. Additionally, We need to implement mandatory training sessions for all managers and employees. It's crucial that everyone understands the importance of creating an inclusive and respectful workplace. We cannot afford to let these issues fester. One of the HR representatives, Janet, raised her hand hesitantly. Marcus, should we consider bringing in external consultants to help with the training and investigation? It might provide an unbiased perspective. Marcus considered her suggestion. Yes, that's a good idea. External expertise can offer valuable insights and ensure the process is fair and thorough. Let's move forward with that. As the meeting concluded, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. Addressing these internal issues was as important as his external community efforts. He couldn't allow discrimination to undermine the very values he stood for. Later that day, Marcus attended a community forum organized by Bennett Industries to discuss upcoming projects and gather feedback from residents. The room was filled with concerned citizens, community leaders, and local business owners. Marcus took the stage, feeling the weight of their expectations and the responsibility he bore. Thank you all for being here today, he began, his voice steady. Your feedback is invaluable. As we continue to work towards a more inclusive and prosperous Crestwood, I want to address some of the recent concerns and outline our plans for moving forward. He spoke candidly about the challenges they faced, both within the company and in the broader community. He emphasized the importance of transparency, accountability, and genuine collaboration. As he navigated through his presentation, Marcus noticed a few skeptical glances from some council members and local business owners. Despite his efforts to maintain a positive tone, he couldn't ignore the undercurrents of prejudice that still lingered. After the presentation, a man approached him, his demeanor guarded. Mr. Bennett, I appreciate your efforts, but there are still underlying issues that need to be addressed. It's not just about programs and funding, it's about changing minds and attitudes. Marcus met his gaze steadily. I understand, and I agree change starts with us, but it requires everyone's participation. We need to continue these conversations and work together to dismantle the prejudices that hold us back. The man nodded slowly, a flicker of acknowledgement in his eyes. We're watching closely, Mr. Bennett. We hope to see real, lasting change. As Marcus left the forum, he felt a mix of determination and weariness. The path to true inclusivity was long and fraught with obstacles, both visible and hidden. Yet, he remained committed to his mission, knowing that each step forward, no matter how small, was a step towards a better future. That night, Marcus couldn't shake the feelings of frustration and helplessness that had surfaced during the day's events. He found himself staring out the window, contemplating the systemic challenges that persisted despite his best efforts. Elena joined him, sensing his turmoil. You've had a tough day, haven't you? He nodded, the exhaustion evident in his eyes. It feels like no matter how much we do, there's always something pulling us back. The prejudices are deeply rooted, both in the community and within our own company. Elena sat beside him, her presence a soothing balm. It's a continuous battle, Marcus. But every time you stand up against those biases, you're making a difference. Don't lose sight of the progress you've made. Marcus took a deep breath, finding solace in her words. You're right. It's just hard to see the end in sight sometimes. She smiled gently. Just take it one day at a time. You're not alone in this. As they sat together in the quiet of their home, Marcus felt a flicker of hope amidst the challenges. He knew the road ahead was uncertain and filled with obstacles, but with Elena's support and his unwavering commitment, he was ready to continue the fight for a more equitable and inclusive community. The following week brought new challenges. During a visit to one of the Springfield branch offices, Marcus was met with a group of employees who had heard about the allegations and were understandably upset. The office was located in a historically black neighborhood, and the employees' frustration was palpable. One employee, Derek, stepped forward, his expression stern. Mr. Bennett, we need to talk about what's been happening here. It's been months of feeling undervalued and overlooked. Promotions go to people who aren't even part of this community. Marcus listened intently, his heart aching at the pain and frustration in Derek's voice. I'm truly sorry you're feeling this way, Derek. This is exactly why we're taking these allegations seriously. We want to create a workplace where everyone feels respected and has equal opportunities. Derek shook his head. anger simmering beneath the surface. It's not just about feeling respected, it's about real change. We're tired of empty promises and half-hearted efforts. Marcus felt a surge of determination. I hear you, Derek. And I assure you, we're committed to making meaningful changes. We're implementing comprehensive training, revising our promotion processes to eliminate bias, and ensuring that every voice is heard and valued. Another employee, Lisa, added, We need accountability. It's not enough to say you're sorry, we need to see actions that back up those words. Marcus nodded solemnly. Absolutely. We're holding all levels of management accountable and ensuring that any discriminatory practices are addressed immediately. Your feedback is crucial, and we're here to listen and act. The conversation continued, with Marcus addressing each concern with the same calm professionalism. Yet, beneath his composed exterior, he felt the weight of their frustration and the urgency of their demands. It was a stark reminder that systemic change required persistent effort and unwavering commitment. As he left the Springfield branch, Marcus couldn't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility. The journey towards true inclusivity was complex and ongoing, but he was resolute in his mission to lead by example and foster an environment where everyone had the opportunity to thrive. Walking back to his car, he reflected on the day's interactions. The prejudice and biases he encountered were not just obstacles to be overcome, but also opportunities to drive meaningful change. Each confrontation, each moment of resistance, was a chance to reaffirm his commitment and push the boundaries of what was possible. He knew that the path ahead was long and fraught with challenges, but Marcus was ready to face them head-on. With Elena by his side and a steadfast belief in his mission, he was prepared to navigate the complexities of leadership in a world still grappling with its own biases and prejudices. As he drove home under the starlit sky, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. The conflicts he faced were a testament to the work that still needed to be done, but they also fueled his determination to create lasting, positive change. He was not just a CEO, he was a catalyst for transformation, committed to building a more inclusive and equitable community for all. The sun had barely risen when Marcus Bennett received the distressing news. As he sipped his morning coffee, his phone buzzed with an urgent message from Rebecca, his chief operations officer, meeting ASAP, urgent matter regarding Springfield branch. His heart skipped a beat. The allegations of discrimination were already a heavy burden, but the brevity of the message suggested something far more serious. He immediately called Rebecca, his voice steady despite the unease gnawing at him. Rebecca, what's happened? He asked as she answered. Marcus, you need to come to Springfield right now. There's been an incident. It's escalating quickly, Rebecca replied, her voice tight with tension. Without hesitation, Marcus grabbed his coat and headed out, the gravity of the situation pressing down on him. The drive to Springfield felt interminable, each mile amplifying his anxiety. Crestwood's vibrant streets blurred past his window, but his mind was fixated on the unknown crisis awaiting him. Upon arrival, Marcus was met by Rebecca and a group of HR representatives at the entrance of the Springfield branch office. The normally bustling workspace was in chaos. Employees were milling about with worried expressions, and a sense of fear hung thick in the air. We need to move quickly, Rebecca urged, leading him into the main office. The scene that greeted them was unsettling. Several employees huddled together near the break room, their faces pale and eyes wide with shock. In the center of the room stood Officer Daniels, a figure Marcus had encountered before during his community engagements. Officer Daniels was known for his stern demeanor and unwavering adherence to protocol, often clashing with Marcus over community initiatives. Marcus, Officer Daniels greeted him with a curt nod, his expression unreadable. I need to speak with you immediately. Marcus approached, his calm exterior concealing the storm brewing inside him. What's going on, Daniels? Officer Daniels took a deep breath, his jaw set. We received a report of harassment and discriminatory behavior from several employees at your branch. One of them, Lisa Thompson, claims she was verbally abused by a supervisor, leading to her mental distress. Marcus felt a surge of anger and frustration. That's unacceptable. Have you conducted an investigation? We're in the process, Daniels replied. But it escalated when Lisa threatened to go public with her claims. Given the severity, we had to take immediate action to prevent further issues. Rebecca interjected, her voice firm. "We've already started internal investigations and have suspended the supervisor pending the outcome." But Officer Daniels, Lisa is a long-standing employee who's been vocal about the discrimination within the company. This could spiral into a significant PR crisis. Marcus's mind raced. The Springfield branch was a cornerstone of his community efforts, and any scandal could undermine his reputation and the progress he'd fought so hard to achieve. "We need to handle this delicately. Lisa's experience highlights the very issues we're trying to address. I want a transparent and thorough investigation, and I'm prepared to take immediate action based on the findings." Daniels nodded, though his eyes remained guarded. "Understood. But we need to ensure that this is resolved quickly to prevent any further escalation." As Marcus turned to speak with the concerned employees, a young man named Mitchell approached him. Hesitantly, Mitchell had been one of the more reserved employees, often keeping to himself, but showing signs of support for Marcus's initiatives. "Mr. Bennett?" Mitchell began, his voice shaky. "I heard what happened with Lisa. I just want you to know that we appreciate everything you're doing, but it feels like there are still deep-seated issues here." Marcus placed a reassuring hand on Mitchell's shoulder. "Thank you, Mitchell. Your support means a lot. We're committed to making things right and ensuring that everyone feels safe and respected here." As Marcus addressed the employees, his calm and genuine concern began to diffuse some of the immediate tension. However, the underlying issues were far from resolved. The room buzzed with a mix of fear, frustration, and hope, reflecting the complex emotions of a community grappling with systemic bias. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the break room. Everyone turned to see a group of irate employees gathered around Lisa Thompson, who was visibly distressed and tearful. One of the men, visibly agitated, stepped forward and shouted, "This isn't over, Lisa! You think you can just come in here and accuse us without any proof?" Lisa stood her ground, her voice quivering but resolute. "I'm not going to stay silent anymore. We deserve better, and this has to stop." Officer Daniels stepped in, trying to restore order. "Everyone, please calm down. We're here to resolve this." Marcus felt his frustration boiling beneath the surface, but he knew he had to remain composed. Instead of reacting with anger, he chose to address the crowd with empathy and determination. "Everyone, please listen," he began, his voice strong yet compassionate. "I understand that emotions are running high right now. This situation is deeply troubling, and I want to assure you that we are taking it very seriously, Lisa. Your courage to speak up is commendable, and we will do everything in our power to address your concerns." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Marcus could see the conflict in their eyes, the battle between ingrained prejudices and the desire for a fair and respectful workplace. As he continued to speak, outlining the steps the company was taking to investigate and rectify the situation, Marcus felt a sense of resolve solidifying within him. This was more than just an internal issue. It was a reflection of the broader societal challenges he was committed to overcoming. However, just as the tension began to ease, another unexpected event unfolded. The phone in the conference room rang loudly, cutting through the heavy atmosphere. Rebecca answered it swiftly, her expression turning grim as she listened to the caller. "That's the CEO of Crestwood Broadcasting," she announced, her voice tight. "They want to speak with you about the Springfield incident immediately. It seems they've received information that could turn this into a major news story." Marcus felt his heart race. Crestwood Broadcasting was the leading news outlet in the area, and any negative coverage could amplify the existing tensions and jeopardize his efforts to foster a positive community image. "Put them through," Marcus instructed, his voice steady despite the growing panic. A moment later, a reporter's voice came through the speaker. "Mr. Bennett, we've received multiple complaints regarding discriminatory practices at your Springfield branch. We'd like to discuss these allegations and get your perspective for our upcoming segment on workplace diversity." Marcus took a deep breath, maintaining his composure. "I welcome the opportunity to address these concerns publicly. Our company is committed to fostering an inclusive and respectful work environment, and we are actively investigating these allegations to ensure that justice is served." As he ended the call, Rebecca looked at him with a mixture of concern and determination. "This is serious, Marcus. If the media decides to run with this, it could have significant repercussions for the company and your personal reputation." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. We need to be transparent and proactive. I'll give a public statement and ensure that our investigation is thorough and unbiased. We can't let this situation define us. Later that evening, Marcus stood before Crestwood's local news channel, Crestwood Broadcasting, ready to address the allegations head-on. The studio lights were harsh, the cameras focused intently on him as he took his seat. "Good evening," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the nerves threatening to surface. "I'm Marcus Bennett, CEO of Bennett Industries. I want to address the recent allegations of discrimination at our Springfield branch." He took a moment to gather his thoughts, ensuring every word was measured and sincere. "First and foremost, I want to express my deepest apologies to any employees who have felt marginalized or mistreated. This is not reflective of our company's values or the inclusive environment we strive to maintain." The reporter nodded, prompting him to continue. "We take these allegations very seriously. We have initiated a comprehensive investigation to understand the root causes and address them appropriately. Our commitment is to ensure that every employee feels respected, valued, and empowered to succeed." As Marcus spoke, he felt the presence of Elena beside him in the studio, a silent pillar of support. Her encouraging glance gave him the strength to continue. "We are also implementing additional training programs focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion to prevent such incidents in the future. It's imperative that we create a workplace where everyone can thrive without fear of discrimination or bias." The reporter interjected, "Mr. Bennett, how do you respond to those who feel that these measures are too little, too late? Some employees have expressed a loss of trust in the company's commitment to genuine change." Marcus met the reporter's gaze, his resolve unwavering. "I understand that words alone are not enough. That's why we are taking concrete steps to rebuild trust. We are committed to not only addressing the immediate issues, but also fostering a culture of continuous improvement and accountability." As the interview concluded, Marcus felt a sense of accomplishment mixed with lingering anxiety. He had faced the public scrutiny with grace, but the underlying issues remained unresolved, demanding ongoing attention and action. Walking out of the studio, he was greeted by Rebecca, who offered a reassuring smile. "You handled that well, Marcus. It was a tough situation, but you stayed composed." "Thanks, Rebecca," Marcus replied, his mind already shifting to the next steps. "Now we need to ensure that our actions back up our words. This is just the beginning." As he returned home, the weight of the day's events pressing down on him, Marcus reflected on the mounting challenges. The prejudice and biases he faced were not isolated incidents, but a systemic issue that required relentless effort and unwavering commitment. He found Elena waiting for him in the living room, her expression a mix of concern and support. "How did it go?" she asked softly. Marcus sank into the couch, exhaustion evident in his posture. "It was intense. The allegations have drawn media attention, and now the pressure is even greater. We need to move quickly and decisively to address this." Elena took his hand, her touch a source of comfort. "You're doing everything you can, Marcus. Just remember to take care of yourself too." He nodded, appreciating her unwavering support. "I know it's just hard to see how much work is still left to do, but I'm not giving up. We have to keep pushing forward." As they sat together in the quiet of their home, Marcus felt a renewed sense of determination. The day's events had pushed him to his limits, but they also reinforced his commitment to creating meaningful change. The battle against systemic prejudice was far from over, but with Elena by his side and a steadfast belief in his mission, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Unbeknownst to Marcus, the tension within Bennett Industries was reaching a boiling point. As he prepared for the next phase of his battle against discrimination, a shadowy figure within the company was plotting to undermine his efforts, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test Marcus's resolve and the strength of his convictions like never before.